Hi, this is Matt Miano, Events Manager with the Town of Dillon. Welcome to Dillon Dialogue. I'm sitting here with Mayor Kevin Burns and Councilwoman Terry King, who's, of course, wearing her lovely Ole Miss red and blue. Go Rebels.
Hi.
And we're here to talk to you about what's going on in Dillon. And what's exciting is that we're coming to you from the SC, the Summit County TV newsroom in high definition. That's what I'm trying to say. High definition. So zoom out on the stage center and the stage right cameras, and that'll be good for all of us, I think. So
absolutely
in high definition. So let's see, it's October.
As much audio over here as possible with no visual is probably
exactly
the way to go.
That's, I'll just go like this. I can't see what's going on anyhow. There's a big camera in my face. So it's October, which of course means budget time of year. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the mayor, Mr. Mayor.
Yes. So as probably anybody who follows this programming knows that, this, as you said, this time of year we talk budget. For anybody who's attended our council meetings, and there have been up to several of you, you know that we take chunks of our budget each work session, and we kind of go through it to review, sometimes make changes. Luckily, we have a great finance director who's been doing this for a lot of years and knows what she's doing. So usually we don't have any major problems, but there's little tweaks here and there that
I got to plug it. Carrie McDonald.
Yeah, Carrie McDonald.
The name of it because she does do
our
good.
excellent finance director.
Yeah, but so what was exciting at our last town council meeting is that we've gone through the budget. We've actually publicly presented it. And so for all of you watching, if you want to look at our budget, you can find it at the Town of Dillon website. You can come into a town hall and pick up a copy and take a look. And we'll actually have a public hearing on
November
on the first meeting in November, which is November 4th.
Yes.
That's it allows the public to come in if they have any concerns or questions or additions that we think we need to make to the budget. That's sort of the time we field all that, and then we hope to have it finally passed on December 2nd. So it's a long process. Started at this is probably not the first piece of Dillon programming that's discussed the budget.
No, we've had 5 meetings, about 6 meetings.
Well, and like you said, it's kind of split up. So the
Yes.
general fund comes up, and then we talk about the marina fund. So and as Mr. Mayor said, you can find it online at townofdillon.com.
Yeah.
And we encourage people to come out.
And what's exciting is that it's actually been a really great budget process this year because we're and I think Terry, when you and I both started, we were still kind of coming out of the very sort of the downward momentum of the economic recession and all that. So we were still looking at pretty darn tight budget.
Very
and
tight.
Compared the budget now compared to a couple of years ago, there's a lot more room to breathe. More chances to do some kind of good stuff for our citizens. And I just have a note here, our general fund revenues are up 6.3% over last year. And that's, that's obviously incredible. It shows that we've had some
tax has been consistently up all year.
And people are coming to Dillon, which is great.
Yeah, exactly.
We got our great summer, which really helped the revenues. We got new businesses,
Last winter was...
It's really been an optimistic year.
I had a couple good days out on the mountain last winter. I know you get out there. You get out there too.
A lot of good days on the water too. Beautiful summer.
Great winter season, beautiful summer, and that, for a town like ours, which is so sales tax driven, that makes a big difference. So then it seems like the general economic climate is getting better. So I think the anticipation is that hopefully this is sort of the more normal of what our budget's going to be looking like, not just a random spike, which will be great.
I'm all for that.
And that's
great.
Whatever that's worth.
I think that's great. Well, and I also want to say, give another shout out to Carrie McDonald. We always are I'm an accountant like her, and accountants, we're just very conservative, very hold things down kind of people. And so we have been very careful in our budgeting to not spend any money we don't think we have.
And that's and part of that comes part of that's shown in what we were talking about in one of our work sessions this year, that after this year is actually our last year that we're going to have debt service on the books, and after that it's going to be zeroed out, which is really exciting. And that just shows how responsible our council, historically our councils have been, and then obviously our great, as you say, conservative staff there, which makes sure that we don't do anything that we're going to live to regret.
That's true. That's true. Well, and we are the trustees of the taxpayers' money, so we should always have that in mind.
Exactly.
Or someone will remind us if we don't have it in mind.
And even, I mean, in my post as the events manager, I look at that. I mean, there is
That's
a
true.
fiscal responsibility that I have in throwing events, and you know, it's certainly something to take serious.
Oh, yes. And I guess I should say, you know, Carrie does a really good job, but each department head has to come up with their budget, and it's all worked together. So it's a big group effort.
And I'm not an accountant, so you know, I'm glad that we're close to the end.
Yeah.
You're
So
just eye candy.
yeah.
Like I said, zoom out. Don't listen to her.
Yeah, and you know, one of the cool things about this budget process, just trying to quickly move on from
Please
this
do.
kind of discussion.
It's not the bright lights that are this bead of sweat across my brow. I know your husband. Don't get me in trouble.
Yeah, so ignoring everything that just happened, one of the cool things about the budget process is that it's, you know, as we were talking about a little bit, before the show started here, is that Terry, it's, you know, it's almost sort of like a philosophical document. You pick what programs are important to us,
That's true.
you know, what's important to our community, and as you say, compared to a couple years ago when we were talking about, you know, how are we making sure that we're you know, most of it's how are we making sure that we just have a balanced budget. This year we actually have the chance to do some cool projects for our citizens. I'm thinking, you know, everything from, you know, upgrading our website to some of the capital projects we're doing to you know, just
The ongoing
ongoing
work at the marina.
Yeah, ongoing work at the marina, and stuff that really, you know, when you're, you know, I mean, we live in the town of Dillon, obviously, and that it's when you go and walk around town, you can actually really visibly see the improvements being made, and if you interact with the town with town staff at all, it can be as simple as, you know, upgrading some, you know, town hall support to allow credit cards, you know, upgrading the website, doing all this good stuff, and
That wasn't that hard, the credit card piece. But yes, we are taking a step forward. And, you know, we've been Facebooking and Instagramming and Twittering. But again, that's all free.
Oh, yes. And on Facebook, we've had some beautiful shots, you know, showing our town. We want to draw those people in to spend their money, makes our budget even easier to work on the next year.
And like you said, we get to do fun stuff. We get to do good stuff for our citizens. And, and, you know, those even beyond the citizens, but those within the community and the folks that come out here. You know, obviously we're very tourism based as well. So things have been going good, and that's awesome to hear. And I don't know if are we ready to move on, because this kind of segues in to the next topic we were to talk about. And you kind of alluded to a few of these things, but some of the capital improvements.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, you know, the budget's a document where it shows what, you know, what's important to us, and one of the things we really wanted to make sure that we have some resources for is to do some of those different capital improvements. You know, we have a few things going up. A few years back, there was a tax that was passed by the citizens of Dillon to do road improvements, and you know, a lot got done. Unfortunately, with the recession, there were some pieces that didn't get done, and we ended up, you know, collecting less than we were planning on. But you know, fortunately, we're actually, you know, we are able to move forward with some of that. We are going to have. We are going to be able to do a reconstruction of the remaining third of Ensign Drive, which I know a lot of the residents in that area have been asking us about since we got on council.
That's right. Right about the time we got on council. Yeah. That was hot button topic.
Yeah. So, you know, that's going to be exciting. It's, you know, it's sort of a promise that the town made to the people of Dillon, and it's, you know, it's exciting to be able to sort of follow through on that promise. And then along with that, we're doing the proper maintenance of our roads so we don't get in that kind of situation again. Save money in the long run on that.
Infrastructure, is very important, you know, because we want people to come and enjoy, and the people who live here want to be able to go down the streets and not fall into potholes or fall off the side of the road.
It's nice to see some of these projects come to fruition too, or come to completion. Like you said, something that started and then it kind of got stalled. So because things have been going better, we're getting to finish some of this stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. If you know, and if road reconstruction isn't the thing that seems the most exciting to you, which for some folks it's hard to believe, but every once in a while I bring it up and people are like, well, what else do you got?
Right.
So we, you know, one of the things that
people.
I don't personally understand it, but they're usually the same people that are like, why would you ever want to be on town council?
So I'm sure they're gonna love the. I mean, I don't know where you're going next, but let's go. We could go from Ensign Drive to the parking lot.
Oh,
yeah, there we go.
Marina
Perfect.
Parking lot.
If streets don't excite you, maybe parking lots will, because I know that literally a day or two ago, they finished the paving
Oh,
of the
yeah.
Marina parking lot.
Yeah.
Which again is a project that's been kind of ongoing. They
Yes,
regraded it
yes.
last year, and again, we're seeing things through to completion.
Yeah, highly
Yes.
recommend for anybody watching this, if you hadn't had a chance, just go drive down by the marina, because the parking lot, like, again, it's weird when you don't get excited about this, but you go down and I mean, it's a big parking lot. It's really cool.
Numbers, like, I don't know how many it's about.
Well, when you see something finished,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I know one of the things I know that Scott O'Brien said, the reason we didn't do some of it any sooner, budget constraints, and then also we were waiting for the ground to settle. I actually used to have a client that had an asphalt paving company, and the ground's got to be right. So now the ground's right, and the asphalt's
Well, and that'll
almost
have a very
all laid.
practical application. Like that is an improvement.
Yes.
Anyone that goes to the marina to rent a boat, you can rent a boat, DillonMarina.com.
That's right.
You go down to the Tiki Bar for one of their famous rum runners. I mean, those are actual. That is an improvement that will benefit the masses.
absolutely.
Or
which
go
is
to our
great.
new paddleboarding area.
There you go,
Yeah,
which is,
which
the
might get
stand-up
expanded.
paddleboard.
We're talking about wanting to expand. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah. One of the
So
major
try
commitments that the town has had over the years, since before we've been on, but certainly while we've been on, is is a recognition that our lakefront is one of the premier destinations in the county, and it's certainly the jewel of Dillon, and the continuing to do the improvements that we need to do to make sure the marina is sort of this world-class destination is something I'm very proud of. And we joke about, like, wow, how could you not be excited about the parking lot? But it's an important piece to making sure that people recognize that this is that they have this great experience when they come to Dillon, and it can be as simple as making sure that the park. I say simple. It turns out it's actually a lot of money. I have a lot of money and time, but
would appear at the
but
beginning.
but it's something that you don't necessarily think of if it's actually done, and you just go and kind of enjoy it.
That's a good point, I think. I mean, and that's what you want. Like, it's second nature, second thought. You get out, the parking lot's paved, but for us, I mean,
it's a big
I am
deal.
kind of excited about it.
Yeah.
Another project that's kind of in that area that I actually haven't been down. It's supposed to be 60 degrees this week, all week, so I'm going to try and get down there because this will benefit my family. They've redone the Marina Park.
Yes.
And this is actually something that we've been joking about getting excited. This is something truly that people should get excited about because I've heard it's spectacular. I don't know if you've had the opportunity to go down there, but it's, again, part of the master plan coming through.
I went and scoped it out last week, and it's they're again, this is based on a public process that all this park stuff is it's not just sitting in the back room and drawing stuff up. You get professionals to come and do the designs. There's public hearing process. It's all
See,
all this
doodle
stuff
that I'm doing right now.
Yeah, that's our next piece. Everything, all these designs and everything are public documents that are available on the website of the Town of Dillon, and we've reviewed all that. But I'll be honest, until I went down there last week and actually kind of saw the progress that Dan and Scott and all their staff down there were making, I did not truly appreciate how cool this the Marina Park improvements.
I'm actually
makes a big difference.
and I'm on it. Like, I want to go see it because
Yeah.
everybody that I've talked to is like, wow.
Yeah.
And what's
You
another
will not
thing-
believe
Sorry.
how drastic. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and what's so great is, not everyone's a sailor. Not everyone, some people get lake sick, seasick, whatever. So we have the park for the kids. We have the Tiki Bar. We have,
The
and
amphitheater. I mean, now, so the area, basically, if you're not familiar,
Yeah.
Marina Park is the area just adjacent to the amphitheater, and then adjacent to that, again, is the playground.
Yes.
So that whole area is kind of being, it was a very natural, native grass kind of area, and now we're kind of turning it into a park.
Yeah.
So it's, I'll just toot the horn of the design here a little bit. It's what's cool, and I didn't think about it till I saw it. Is I think of that area by the playground and the picnic tables. For whatever reason, I always think of it as a fairly flat kind of vista that overlooks the lake, and you realize that it's actually a hill. It's I mean, if you have little kids rolling down, you're probably a little more aware of it. But it's not something that, if you're just kind of walking around, you don't necessarily really think about it. That the kind of so there's these it's all tiered coming down now with walkways going through.
Nice.
And that part's all going on this fall. Obviously, the revegetation's going on in the spring. I think they're working out the timing on that exactly. But whether it's totally ready to go start getting folks trampling on it or not, I think that by the time the Beer Fest comes, we at least want it. We'll be able to use that event to showcase it, even if the event has to take place next door to the park.
They did talk about
yeah,
that.
we have
the
been
grass
talking
is
with
not
the Dillon
ready.
Business Association.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that's going to depend on the winter that we have. I'm hoping we have a good winter. That's something I get excited about. I know you guys have already hit on that.
Yeah.
The date that I've heard for sure is, they're hoping July 4th for that big weekend.
True.
And the Beer Festival is a terrific signature event for us in Dillon.
It really
with, the Dillon Business Association. I do think right now it's slated to happen in the parking lot, but again, it's going to be an awesome way to get folks there.
You can see it. You'll be able to see how cool it's going to be, and then once the once the grass is kind of it's kind of stable enough for folks and settled in, we'll be able to get folks out there playing on it, which is super exciting.
That's great.
And, it's
That's great.
Yeah, I think that's worth mentioning that we have a great Parks and Rec advisory committee that's all volunteer.
We really do.
Citizens in town, and then just a few interested folks from around the county who participate, and they're the ones who help foster a lot of this stuff along, until it gets up to that sort of council level where we look at it, and they help make a lot of this kind of stuff happen too.
Well, it's just like the other day talking about the improvements we want to make, and then when we have citizens come and make good suggestions, it's like, well, that's good. That's why we're all here. We had a lady the other day. It was really cool. She talked about having kiteboarding on the lake possibly sometime, and it never entered my feeble mind. It's such a cool idea, and that's how some of our projects get started. It's an idea, and then we have a project we want to do, and then we got to make sure we got the money, and that's why we're so excited about what's going on now. We're seeing how it's all turning out.
Yeah, it's the public process at work. So let's see, the first and third Tuesday of every month.
Yes.
We have our council meetings up at Town Hall and council chambers, and they are open to the public. And then we do have a slot for citizen comments. You get up to 5 minutes, and you basically can come up. And, if there's something you're stoked on, or some change you want to see, or a suggestion that you have. So it really is a great opportunity. One other thing that is going on capital-wise is our marquee sign. We're looking at replacing the old marquees that we won't get into the bad part about that, because I'm the one that gets to go out there and change it all winter long. But the digital marquee sign is a really cool prospect, and it's got a lot of benefits to it, a lot of advantages.
Yeah, we've gone over this in some meetings before, but in some of these updates. But it's worth noting that a lot of the genesis of this was that last year we had some days where traffic got so backed up from the highway that it actually cut off half of the town from the other half, and there was a lot of talk about, well, how can we better communicate to folks on the road? If you're stuck in traffic, if there is there an emergency? Do the police have to get over to Corinthian Hills, to City Market area, to some part of town that they don't have access to? If there's just gridlock on the road, how do we get them off? And hard to do that if you have to go manually change out letters on a sign.
And a little chilly also, right?
It doesn't work. And I mean, we live in Summit County. It's a place where things can change on a dime, and with the weather conditions and whatnot.
Yeah. So I know, and I don't. And again, this is something that has a sort of a historical basis. I think that before we were even on council, they were kicking around the idea of doing some kind of digital signage in town. At that time, technology hadn't advanced as far to what I remember making some comment in one of the meetings that what I don't want to see is like those little is a sign that looks like those little light brights from at least my childhood. And
we don't look like Vegas either.
Right, or look like Vegas or anything gaudy.
Vegas and light brights. We want to fall right
somewhere on that middle ground.
And so a couple months ago now, maybe we had some folks who had some of the signage come up, and
we were running around.
Yeah, we were hanging out by the highway.
Yeah, hanging out by the highway.
Can you see me now?
Some council members, I won't say who, but it was Mayor Pro Tem Scavera. We're actually in the highway looking at the sign.
Pro Tem Scavera, if you didn't
we
hear
did
that.
have police protection though.
Yes.
Well, there was that one car too. I can't remember the license plate, but it did seem to speed up, and I can't remember if they were steering towards you or
it was hard to want.
I don't know. I say go for one of you two.
Luckily, they were overwhelmed by choice, split the difference, and went through right between all of us.
It was pretty interesting.
But so we went through this. We've been doing our homework. We've been trying to find technology that makes a lot of sense, as you say, that as you say, offers a lot of opportunity. Just a lot more things we can do, and in our budget right now is a plan to replace. I believe half of our signage. It wouldn't do, it wouldn't be the signs up at the entrance of Lake Dillon Drive, but on lower Anemone. We'd
Say
get
that
those
3
replaced.
times fast.
See if you can
You
spell
can say
it.
it 1 time slow. And
Focus, everybody, focus.
So we do that, and then it gives us that safety component, which will be really exciting. It'd be great for our police force, great to be able to collaborate with CDOT on that. If something's going on I-70, we can get the information relayed to us, and we can let folks know before they get stuck in this awful traffic.
And it can get bad. So like you say, I mean, get off of Highway 6, go grab a burger, go grab a beer, whatever. But stay out of the gridlock, because there are times where you're just shut down.
Well, it's just a parking lot. I can look out at I-70 sometimes, and on Sunday at 4 o'clock, and it's just everyone's sitting there, and that's just a normal Sunday. And I did want to mention about these signs. We asked a lot of questions of the people that came and made the presentations, and the signs we're thinking of doing are the kinds that dim themselves. So like I said, it won't be a Vegas thing going.
Well, and that's actually one of the things we were talking about when we were working with CDOT on this was, there are some requirements around making sure they dim, so everything's going to meet those kind of requirements, so it won't be anything unusual compared to what you'd see at other places that have this kind of signage, of the other towns that use it. And then, beyond the safety component, all of a sudden it does open up some opportunities. You can advertise some of this programming that we do in the summer and the winter. We can help support some of our local businesses.
That's true.
We can just make sure that all the best information is out there. And I think that's I think there's some pretty exciting opportunities for the town for that. Whether you're a local who just doesn't remember, is there, does the farmers market start up this Friday, or is it,
I got vendors that don't know when the farmers market is starting up. So
or obviously if you're out of town and don't even know, hey, there's a free concert going on down the street here.
That's true, because people from out of town, they don't always know what all's going on.
Where them, oh wow, you can rent a boat. Or they do have stand-up paddleboards. So there's a lot of hands-on applications. So
there's a lot of potential there, I think.
Not to cut us off, but we got to plug our sponsors because someone's got to pay for this fancy stream behind us. So give us a second. We'll be right back.
Thanks.
Hey, welcome back. Hopefully that stream is paid for at this point, or at least we're moving in the right direction.
Actually, I just want to say on a programming note, I think what they should do is put music videos when we do those breaks in. Like Brad could just play early MTV music videos.
I don't know what they play. I'm not sure what they play. Maybe they do the town council update during commercials, so you're actually the commercial.
Yeah, it'd be like one of those Russian dolls where you take it out and there's just more town council update in the middle of each one.
We just got Russian tea. What are they're tea? Russian tea
it's for
dolls.
tea. Yeah, they're tea dolls.
Yeah,
I don't know. All right. Well, anyhow, I was gonna make a joke and you totally ruined it. But you're the mayor.
You can still make the joke.
I was gonna say, never mind. We're in
next time.
We're in high definition. That's the point.
That's the point.
Is high definition. We got a couple other points we want to make. So we're actually going to dive back into the capital improvement discussion.
I think we saved. Actually, we were talking about ramping up the excitement. You go from went from road reconstruction to parking lot construction to actually parks, which is pretty cool. But I think we saved the best for last on that one, right?
Heady stuff.
Honestly, I don't live in Dillon. So to me, you're right. This isn't particularly exciting. I do have a Dillon address. I just don't live in Dillon proper. But if I did, I would, fortunately for all of us, if I did, I think that this next thing we are going to talk, we're just teasing at this point, but it really is an awesome and a necessary step.
This has been
been in the works
for a while. Again, the common theme to a lot of these projects and why we're kind of excited about them is that it's been something that's been on the plate for a while, and we're finally able to tackle it.
So what is it? Tell us.
Well, the biggest piece of it is that we're finally getting a new water tank for the town of Dillon, which is something that I think
Canned
Scott's
applause
been
in the background, Mr. Producer. Canned applause.
Okay. Scott's been on our case about it since we started on council, and I know that it's been it's not that the town's been acting irresponsibly, but we're definitely at the end of the lifespan of our existing water tank as our primary water holder. So
and it's bigger, right?
Yeah,
it's because the storage capability of the old one we're going to replace was really not. up to the standards
It's
that we needed.
Our existing tank is marginally adequate for our current needs, and if we were to expand, if we were to get a new housing development in or build a new hotel or something, we would be outstripping the actual supply we have. The requirements are that a town is supposed to have, I believe it's 3 days of water reserves, so that if there's a catastrophic emergency with our incoming water supply, we'll have some clean water available. As I said, as it is, we're probably marginally meeting that need currently, but obviously the theme of a lot of these updates has been economic development. If you get a big project that pops, all of a sudden we're looking at infrastructure that doesn't actually meet what we want to do. So besides getting a newer tank that's going to have, our staff is talking about some fiber or that lines the tank that'll be good for another 20 years or something.
It's really great. I mean, until I moved here from Mississippi, where I lived hotty-toddy, I mean, it rained all the time. I never realized, what an issue water was. Now seeing the problems we have and poor California has, water is a big deal. So this tank is going to be right on time.
And what I kept hearing, economic development, bigger water tank, able for hotels and condominiums, townhomes. So if you're a developer, come down to town hall. Let's talk. We can accommodate you.
We have water.
And that's that highlights what one of the things that people ask, sort of, what do you if you're on a town council, Town of Dillon or wherever, what do you prioritize? Why are some of these infrastructure things a priority? It truly is that that's whether it's rebuilding the roads or making sure we have a big enough water tank. Those are the things that improve the quality of life for our residents. Attract and retain businesses that really make towns go, and that's one reason that we do try to keep those things as priorities, making sure that we're maintaining what we have and replacing things when they wear out. I think there were a couple of other things on that. It's not just the water tank.
No, it's not. And I was getting ready to dive in. You gave me your cheat sheet. There is now emergency power at the water plant. That sounds like it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
It's just part of that commitment to the safety of the town and making sure that our infrastructure is where it needs to be. And I think we're also we're also making some improvements to our sewer lines at the same time.
That's true.
Is that this next one? Replacement of the East Bank Interceptor in conjunction with JSA. That stands for something.
That stands for Joint Sewer Authority.
Authority.
See, it's a good thing we got him here, man. Silverthorne, they're north of us, if you weren't aware. And then Dillon Valley, I guess they're east of us.
So for folks who don't know, and I can't imagine how anybody wouldn't know, the Joint Sewer Authority is obviously made up of Silverthorne and Dillon Valley, and us. And us.
Yes.
And this is another maintenance project that's been talked about for a little bit, and it's about water efficiency, making sure that we don't have leaks in the pipes, and that everybody's getting their water allocated appropriately.
That's true.
The towns in Dillon Valley area are getting what they pay in and getting out what they're supposed to and everything. And it's just that's a piece that it's not going to be something that you visibly see out there, but if you have an environmental concern, if the importance of water is on your mind, this is obviously a really nice project that that we're glad we're able to do this year.
Well, it's one of those things, you don't realize how much you need it until it's not working.
Right, exactly. So,
or you can't get your water come out of the faucet.
All right, I'm ready to move on of capital improvements, but I am just kind of making sure we hit everything. Right now, do you want to talk about the design surveys that we've got going on down there?
One of the things, again, we've talked about, this isn't this isn't our capital budget, but we are. We are hoping to build a new theater facility, and there's initial design work. location work and everything that needs to be done. We do have that money allocated, and we're hoping to we'll hopefully have more updates for the on future dialogues as we continue.
So I mean,
on
it sounds so we're finishing projects, so now we're looking at what comes next. So this is kind of a good step.
great.
And then I know the other thing that I'm kind of excited about. We're actually working on some electrical and lighting improvements
At the
down
amphitheater.
at the amphitheater. We've been throwing some really cool concerts, and
Yeah.
obviously over the past 20 plus years, the theater company has been doing concerts down there, and we're just trying to really, again, you mentioned the marina being the jewel. Well, let's have two jewels.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Well, I think that goes back to the conception. You're really talking about the whole lakefront. As I said, when
That's
you're,
true.
you want to improve the park, you want to make sure the marina's improved, you want to make sure the amphitheater is the best it can be, and it really becomes this fantastic attraction that goes across the entire lakeside.
That's right. We
and
want
that's-
all of it to complement
complement each other. Absolutely.
each other.
There you go. All right. Oh, I'm sorry. That did not go as planned.
Wow. That's on
violent
camera.
around here.
You can't undo it.
Moving on. Oh, geez. Now I'm all flustered. Economic development.
So one of the
All it
things
says.
One of the things we've been as a council we've been working pretty hard on since I've been on is that economic development as a general concept. In the last, what's it been, 6 months or so?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yes.
We've had a
That we've really been
consultant.
organized, more organized in our approach for 6 months. We've always, Matt's done a great job, and Susan Fairweather that we had formerly did a great job, and we're still trying to move in that direction.
So to that end, we do have a consultant that's working with the town on a part-time basis, and one of the things that we've really pushed and started to kind of move forward is having several different citizen committees working with the town in different areas of economic, instead of just economic development as this big broad concept that you can't totally get your hands around, dividing up the pie a little bit. So in the last 6 months or so, we've created a marketing committee, a design committee. We've sort of revamped our existing economic development advisory committee with a little bit more focus.
And then the council is the organizational committee.
And the as you said, we created an organization committee, which conveniently is comprised of the council members. So it makes it easy to find us all.
That's right. We're already captive. So put us to work.
So every month we go through a process of reviewing as this organizational committee, we review what the other committees are up to, and it's been a process to get all the right people on the committee, but we have on all these committees, but we have some fantastic folks volunteering on them now, and I think it's they've been putting together work plans, and so there are some actual documents that are going to be coming out of these committees by the end of the year. The marketing committee is doing a review of all of our existing brochures and documents and seeing kind of what fits and how we might improve things to sort of industry standards and
have
all
a
that.
clearer message.
Yeah, exactly.
That's one of the things we had talked about. That we want to have a consistent message of saying what what we want people to think Dillon is about, and not have too many things conflicting with each other.
Yeah, exactly. Our economic development committee is looking at putting together some documents, looking at our property, our land. How do we how can we do land assemblages? What inventory do we really have in the downtown area? Our design committee is looking at things like view corridors. If you're driving down Lake Dillon Drive, how do you see what's in different? How can you actually physically see what's down the street?
I was actually I had never really thought of anything like that, and at the last meeting we're sitting there, I was like, a view corridor.
But
you take
that's
that
true
stuff for granted
because
but
we
it is
know
an
where things
important
are.
piece.
I was riding my bike one day, and this couple said, "Where's the lake?"
That's.
And I mean, to us it's obvious, but they were like in the middle of town, and I guess they didn't realize.
They didn't turn around.
They didn't turn around.
Yeah.
It's right there.
They're not here, so we can make.
They're not from around here.
Yeah. So how do you take all these different aspects, the economic development, design, marketing, and make sure that couple's experience is improved for them, so that they know where the lake is, so that they know where all this stuff in Dillon is, and that there's stuff in Dillon that they're interested in. I think we've come up with an acronym SAIL, and they're going to be having all the committees are going to be getting together here shortly to kind of
SAIL, not SALE.
Yeah, SAIL.
We're not slashing prices.
Well, that could be one of the recommendations that come out of from one of the committees. We don't know.
We'll see.
But
we are a sailing community, I guess.
Yes. And I think the group that was it, marketing group came up with that.
Yes, and so it's cool to see all this move forward. It's sometimes it's hard to figure out how to get your hands around some of these problems, or I shouldn't say problems, but some of these issues. How do you go in a new direction in marketing? How do you kind of reconceptualize what you might be able to do in your downtown area? And citizen bottom up kind of ideas are a great way to go. At the end of the day, we have to make a lot of decisions on these things, but having as many voices as possible, giving input, helps make sure that the best choices are on the table for what we want to do.
Thoughts that I had was, you were kind of breaking it out as far as pieces, getting you wrapping your head around it.
Yes.
But it's also a really cool way to get the community involved by,
absolutely,
and getting that community voice heard.
Yeah.
So
you can't succeed if you don't have the buy-in from your own community, and that's one of the things that I think we certainly try to keep in mind all the time, is that what we're doing has to reflect the interest of the community, if possible, has to get sort of participation from the community, and you have a lot better chances for success in what you're trying to do if that happens. One of the things that I did want to highlight that I think was particularly cool, and we've talked about this in the past, is we had a retreat recently. We had our own discussion about what really constitutes downtown Dillon. We've been talking about this a little bit.
About that.
Had a lot of discussion at that, and conveniently our committees were looking at that as well. When you think of downtown Dillon, what do you think of? For some folks, particularly those who've been around for a while, you think of downtown Dillon as really this core area, and that's actually a type of zoning that we have is core zoning, and it's really a few blocks right in the middle of Dillon that makes up what they consider downtown.
I consider that Dillon. I think of it as Dillon proper, basically Lake Dillon Drive. If you head down there, and I guess would be on your left is where we're where we're talking.
Yeah, and maybe not even including Lake Dillon Drive. If you talk to some other folks, and this is probably what I growing up here, what I always kind of thought of. You think of downtown Dillon as all that commercial area, Lake Dillon Drive, and pretty much from the highway down to the lake. That's kind of the area they're talking about. And we kicked it to these committees, and their assessment was if you're talking about downtown redevelopment, what you really need to talk about is kind of that whole area, including the residential, the mixed use, the pure commercial, all that stuff between the highway and the lake really needs to be part of the mix when you're talking about
all-inclusive. You want to be all-inclusive.
Yeah.
And then also we talked about, the core, the downtown is here, but we still want to draw people, to this part of town, that part of town. So that's why we wanted to have it all-inclusive and have a bigger area that we actually talked about. Started with a smaller area and we've grown.
And I think that's, at least to me, I look at that and, Terry, I don't know if you have a different view, but for me, a lot of that comes down to is a sort of philosophy in the council, and I think in our committees that says, if people have been focused on one thing for so long, let's broaden things out and see what other stuff we can do. Don't if you're talking about how can we kickstart something in the downtown area, and you've been beating your head against the wall for however many years trying to make one thing happen. Well, let's put 5 things on the table and see what happens, and that's
right.
I think that's something that you've certainly talked about in the past.
Yes,
and,
a lot.
Yeah.
Just expanding our vision, instead of being so narrow.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's pretty exciting. Hopefully, all of you watching at home think that's exciting. And if not, send your complaints to Terry King at townofdillon.com.
Oh, please do.
Man, you're just like serving everyone up for the slaughter. That's Luis Guevara, Mayor Pro Tem.
The joys of being the mayor.
No, I think that this actually, we're getting towards the end of the broadcast, if you will. But no, this actually is something that everyone will be excited about, I think. Because, again, it's that Dillon vision. Where are we? What are we? Who are we? What are we providing? So these are all steps, towards that end. So,
and I think we're when you come down on the side of let's be more inclusive and open it up to more ideas, which is I think what we're doing, that pretty much always leads to better results. And
I think like for the citizens, and tourists, it makes them all feel like their voice is being heard. That someone is actually listening to them. They're not just being swept under the rug or whatever.
Exactly. So speaking of trying to come up with different ideas and putting, kind of throwing a bunch of different stuff out there and seeing what sticks. One of the things that's kind of interesting is that we're moving between our summer and our winter seasons, and I
got nervous. I didn't know where we was going with this.
And this last conversation makes me think of that because some of these groups that we've talked about, some of these committees have been really hard at work at figuring out how do you keep up events and programming in the town of Dillon year round. And we're in that transition phase right now between our summer and our winter programming. We have some great winter events coming up. Lighting at Dillon, which do you know when that is?
It is December the 4th.
Great.
Always great having our
Thursday, the first Thursday in December.
That's perfect.
I'm pretty sure it's the 4th though. Hang on, you got your phone
that's
now.
great.
Well, our town council meeting when we pass the budget's December 2nd, which is the first Tuesday in December.
See,
So
it's
there you go.
We're on it. And
That's
actually,
right.
something that we're doing this year that's new and different with the holiday lighting, we've partnered up with the Dillon Community Church. Jude Mitchell and the whole church community over there has basically volunteered their space, and so we're working with them. Mr. and Mrs. Claus are actually, we're working, they're a good partner. Pug Ryan's comes out and we partner with them. It's really just a fun night in Dillon, really great for the family. Come out, have your photo taken with Santa, and again, Mrs. Claus, and grab a hot dog donated by Pugs, grab a cup of coffee, some hot chocolate.
The traditional Dillon hot dog.
That's right. Well, it's almost like a big
Christmas
block
dog.
party.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
It's just inside.
Yeah.
Because it's really cold out.
Yeah.
Yes,
Like,
it gets a little coolish.
Yeah, but since it is cold, some of the other program that's gone on the last year is the DBA runs the bonfires. In the
I was
park.
going to say
right.
the festival lighting or the holiday lighting leads into the Dillon Business Association's Festival of Lights, which does include the 3 Fridays leading up to Christmas. We have a bonfire in Dillon Town Park. Hot chocolate, marshmallows are provided, Christmas carolers.
So cool.
Santa actually did pop his head in at least once last winter. I mean, he's a busy
Great.
guy, but
he's a busy guy.
He did stop in at least once.
Wrapping presents, keeping the elves in line. It's tough.
Somebody's got to.
Yeah. So around
somebody keep
so
you
yeah.
in line.
I don't. That might be a lost cause on that one. I don't know if anyone.
These
needs to
two
take
elves
it
are a
for
little
some.
harder to control.
But we found some cool programming in December. I know that I know you're hard at work. I know we have some of these committees that are hard at work at finding sort of other programming we can do around the winter, whether it's activating that lakefront that we've been talking about to make it sort of a year-round attraction, whether there's other stuff we can do in the town of Dillon. And I don't know, I don't think we're quite ready to officially announce anything yet, but I know that's something that we're always looking to, and it goes back to that philosophy of just expanding the horizons of what we can try to do and see what works. And if an event is a great success, we can continue doing it. If people were like, well, maybe you move in a different direction, then we can move in a different direction. And that's
Endless possibilities.
That's right. And like we said in meetings before, I'm sorry.
We're not, no, go.
We want Dillon to be a place people want to come and stay and hang out and not just wave to us as they go down the highway to their other destinations.
Yep.
Sorry, Matt.
No, you're all good.
Of course, one of the things that really helps is if it's a good snow year. So that's we're recording this in mid-October.
You can't ski in Dillon, but you can, fuel up to go skiing in
you
Dillon.
can.
Exactly.
Because we do sit within, 15 minutes of 5.
Or if
ski
you're up
resorts.
on vacation and you ski as a family one day and then you want to keep going, the kids can come in and there's some cool fun stuff to do in Dillon. When the lighting ceremony goes on, that's a great family event.
Yeah.
There's
We've got the only bowling alley.
That's
we got
right.
movie theater. in
Some
the
great
entire
restaurants,
town.
and for the big kids, some great brew pubs.
The town of Dillon.
This
segues into my closing terrifically.
Which is let's go get the brew pub.
It was
You're
just
buying.
how cool Dillon is.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we're ready for that yet. So, do you have anything else to add?
I
Mr.
think
Mayor?
I'm ready to hear you talk about how cool Dillon is.
Councilwoman King, do you have anything to add?
Cheer for Ole Miss against Tennessee.
You can edit that out,
All
right?
right, I'd say go Heels, but it's not basketball season yet. But I do like to plug my alma mater. So I was just going to say we are cool because not only are we on Facebook, because who isn't on Facebook? Now we're on Instagram.
Yeah.
We're on
Yeah.
Twitter.
Yeah.
This is where it gets good. Not only are we the first of the towns to come to you, I screwed it up. We're the first to come. I got it. We might be the last to get a pop shop, but we're the first to come to you in high definition. And I guess I did say the word high in there. So, all right, run with it. I don't know. Let's send this off, and we'll go to the brew pub. It sounds like I'm buying.
Yes, thanks everyone for your time.
Catch you
Thank
next
you.
time, guys.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.